A gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Back with you all once again for episode number 193 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is February 24th, 2021. We'll be covering February 24th through March 2nd on today's vlog. And this is our 345th day living under COVID-19 restrictions. Hard to believe. Programming notes. We are 2 weeks from our 1-year anniversary of doing this vlog and therefore a format change. We'd just be repeating ourselves if we did totally the same stories of births and deaths all over again. So we're looking to change things up a little bit at the 1-year mark. Now, so we'll be doing one more regular show on this format next Wednesday. Then we'll do a clip show for our 1-year anniversary, looking back at the last year. And also after that, we'll be back with the new format. This much we know at this point, is that the new format is going to be an in-depth look at one story in particular from that week in history. More in-depth than we've been able to do in this one. Sort of like what the Countess does on the weekends. I think you all like that very much. We can see that from the viewership, which by the way is going up, and we certainly appreciate you all. Tell your friends. And then we're going to end with, well, we're not really sure. Maybe some trivia, maybe an opinion piece, maybe change it up. You do both, alternate weeks. We do not know at this point. So, we would like to hear from you. So leave your comments down below about what you would like to see this vlog become. Also, leave any comments in general, like and subscribe. We're getting a lot more subscribers. As I said, a lot more viewership. So keep up the good work, our loyal subjects. Also, your donations are what keep us going and help us purchase the equipment to make this vlog look better. So you can't see all this behind the scenes. We have green screen, a better microphone, better lights. All these things have been purchased with funds donated to us from our generous donors. So if you'd like to do Patreon, Venmo, PayPal, there it is right here. But you can also find the appropriate links in the description of this episode down below. Also, as I said earlier, make sure to tell your friends. You know, we're getting viewership up around 100, 200 right now per episode. But we see things on YouTube where it's like somebody going through a drive-through line at Taco Bell and it has 1 million views. We do not understand this by any means. So please, tell your friends. Also, the Countess and I will be getting our second COVID shots, the vaccine, this Sunday, which means that we shall be available to do tours again mid-March. They're saying you have to wait about 2 weeks for full immunity to kick in. Of course, we're still going to be wearing the mask and all that. I don't want to take any unnecessary chances. But we will be, at least we will be. Don't know about the Countess yet. She's not quite ready yet ready to return to the streets, but we are. So, want more information? sftimemachine.com. You'll see a description of all the tours we offered, and Emperor Norton's fantastic San Francisco Time Machine will be available again, as well as the waterfront tour. So check it out. Be back to a regular schedule maybe sometime soon. It's with great sadness that we heard yesterday of the death of Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the great poet, the last of the Beat generation. If you would like to learn more about Lawrence Ferlinghetti, well, we did a whole episode on him, the Countess did. So look up episode number 168 if you'd like to learn more about that great poet. Hats off to Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Long life. Well, let's begin with our national days, as we usually do. And that's something we're going to carry over to the new format because there's a lot more than we're able to talk about. We only do one. There's about 4, 5, 6, 7 sometimes every single day for all sorts of occasions. We did not know this. So let's begin with the 24th. Today it is Inconvenience Yourself day. So find an appropriate way to inconvenience yourself. The 25th is National Chocolate Covered Nuts Day. We won't go there. The 26th is For Pete's Sake Day, whoever Pete is. The 27th is No Brainer Day. Oh, that must be a day just for us. Yes. No brains, no headaches. The 28th is National Public Sleeping Day. So spend the day sleeping in a park. The 29th, of course, is Leap Day. Only happens every 4 years. Not this year. The 1st of March is World Compliment Day. You look marvelous. And the 2nd is Dr. Seuss Day. We're a big fan of Dr. Seuss. Indeed. Another segment we're thinking about keeping, maybe yes, maybe no, like to know what you think about it, is our Florida Man segment. We have 3 today. Florida Men are always good for entertainment, aren't they? Starting on the 24th, Florida man accuses dog of shooting girlfriend in leg. Blame the dog, yeah. The 25th, Florida man appears to vape his friend's ejaculate. Ooh. And 26th, Florida man dies inside suitcase. Girlfriend charged after claiming they were playing hide and seek. He must have done a really, really good job. Well, let's move on to our San Francisco history segment. And as we have been doing for the last year, we rely on John Ralston's wonderful book, This Date in San Francisco. We have 2 today and a couple of honorable mentions as well. Starting with February 26, 1933, groundbreaking for the Golden Gate Bridge. Actual construction of the Golden Gate Bridge had begun on January 5th, 1933, when 2 steam shovels began excavating for the Marin County anchorage. Ceremonies were held on February 26th. At 12:45 p.m., artillery was fired, after which Army, Navy, Marine, National Guard, and Boy Scout units passed in review through the Marina District. On the speaker's platform at Chrissy Field, engineering students from the University of California, Berkeley, presented an 80-foot model of the bridge. Former San Francisco Mayor, now Governor, James Rolfe Jr., Sonny Jim, San Francisco Mayor Angelo Rossi, and Golden Gate Bridge District President William Filmer spoke. And a congratulatory telegram from President Herbert Hoover was read. At 4 p.m., Rossi and Filmer turned over shovelfuls of earth. The shovel was handed to Chief Engineer Joseph Strauss, but the ceremonies ended abruptly as the crowd got rowdy and the bridge model was damaged. Bridge proponents had had to overcome one obstacle after another: skepticism that a bridge could be built at all or at a reasonable cost, fears that an earthquake like the 1906's would destroy a bridge and make it unsafe, fears that the rock floor of the Golden Gate would not support the massive weight of the South Tower, fears that a bridge of any design would mar the Golden Gate's aesthetics. Resistance by ferry companies to a bridge that would inevitably cost them business, legal challenges to the authority of the bridge to issue bonds, and finally the depression and paralysis of the Hoover administration. In the end, financing was provided by Bank of America founder A.P. Giannini. Meeting with Strauss, Giannini said simply, "We'll take the bonds. We needed the bridge." With a $200,000 advance, construction began. Strauss had envisioned a bridge across the Golden Gate in 1917. He was not able to first do so, and had participated in practically every important public meeting since the bridge began to be seriously considered. He deserves much credit for seeing the project through, but it is a myth that Strauss designed and built the Golden Gate Bridge, a myth perpetuated by his statue on the San Francisco side. He had proposed a design for the bridge in 1921 and had presented it to city engineer Michael O'Shaughnessy, but it was an ugly, impractical combination cantilever and suspension bridge. It was an eyesore. I'll put a picture of it up here. By 1930, Strauss had reluctantly discarded his cantilever suspension monstrosity after his assistant engineer, Charles Ellis, working with Lithuanian-born consultant Leon Moiseff, had found that advances in metallurgy and engineering had made a suspension bridge like that of the Philadelphia Camden Bridge feasible. Engineering on the Golden Gate Bridge was done by Ellis, whom Strauss fired before construction began, and by Strauss's assistant Clifford Payne. The bridge's architectural design and its distinctive international orange color were the work of Oakland-born architect Irving Morrow. The massive job of coordinating of construction fell to Iowa-born Russell Cohn, who had studied engineering under Ellis at the University of Illinois. Beautiful bridge. Probably the most photographed object in the world, they say, wherever they are. And let's move on to February 27, 1926. The new Balboa Theater opens. The Haight, the Irving, the El Rey, the Parkside, the Midtown, the Larkin, the Alhambra, the Sunset, the Stage Door, the Alexandria, the Harding, the Coliseum, the Roosevelt, the Grand, the Lyceum. The list reads like a roll of honored dead, and it is. As soon as it was obvious that movies were here to stay, independent and chain movie theaters sprouted like mushrooms in the rain. A pioneer chain owner was Samuel H. Levin, who by 1926 owned and operated the Metro, the West Portal, now the Empire. I think it just closed permanently. The Harding, the original Balboa in Westwood Park, the Alexandria, the Coliseum, and his latest, the new Balboa. The last three were in the Richmond district, which, like the Sunset, was sparsely populated, and along with the Sunset is the coldest, foggiest neighborhood in San Francisco. We can attest to that. The new Balboa on Balboa Street between 37th and 38th Avenues was the westernmost of Levin's houses and consequently a gamble. The Examiner noted it has been located to serve those residents of the outer Richmond district who live at an inconvenient distance from Levin's Alexandria and Coliseum theaters. Levin was optimistic. In building theaters nearest the home, it is my aim to provide entertainment for them of a standard worthy of family patronage. In the new Balboa, as in all my theaters, I shall seek the comforts and intimate surroundings associated with the higher ideals of home life. Opening night of the Balboa featured The Man on the Box, based on a novel by Harold McGrath and starring Charlie Chaplin's half-brother Sidney. Other pieces were Marionettes, a film fantasy in colors, Newsreel, and a Felix the Cat cartoon. Neighborhood theaters thrived through the 1950s when European art films began appearing. Directors like Fellini, Visconti, and Bergman appeared on marquees and drew audiences much as Hollywood stars had in the 1930s. In the 1960s, the late Mel Novikov Surf Theater on Irving Street, way out on 46th Avenue, specialized in revivals, independent, and foreign films, and was always packed. Neighborhood theaters declined with the rise of multiplexes in the 1970s and 80s, and most remaining ones were absorbed by chains. A few independent specialty houses hold on, even thrive. The Castro, restored by Novikov, which shows classics with appearances by iconic film stars, the Four Star, the Roxy, and the Balboa. Now with 2 screens, the Balboa shows premieres from films from countries as diverse as Hong Kong, India, Bhutan, and Armenia, classics, revivals, and shorts with filmmakers and writers introducing films and leading discussions. Now, of course, the Balboa Theater is closed at the moment due to the pandemic, but when it reopens, we hope that our friend Kai brings back his Super Shangri-La. A lot of really obscure and interesting films. Favorite would be Turkish Star Trek, so check that out when things reopen. Oh, forgot our honorable mentions for today. Let's see what we have here. February 28th, 1849, first Pacific Mail steamship enters San Francisco Bay. Mayor Christopher in Russia announces San Francisco and Moscow zoos will exchange animals. Asks the Soviets to loan Rembrandts. That was on February 29, 1960. Moving into March 1st, San Francisco gets news of Jane Stanford's poisoning, a really interesting story that we just didn't have time for today. And March 2nd, where the buffalo roam, the bisons in Golden Gate Park. Well, now we move on to our other history for today. Starting with the 24th, 1582, Pope Gregory XIII announces the new Gregorian calendar, the one we use now. 1868 is the first U.S. parade with floats, Mardi Gras, in Mobile, Alabama. 1868, the U.S. House of Representatives votes 126 to 47 to impeach President Andrew Johnson. 1942, the Battle of Los Angeles takes place. a series of anti-aircraft engagements over the city in response to a rumored but false Japanese attack. It would last until the morning of the following day. 1981, Britain's Prince Charles announces engagement to Lady Diana Spencer. We know how that turned out. 1998, Elton John is knighted by Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace in London. 2008, Fidel Castro retires as the president of Cuba due to ill health after nearly 50 years. Moving on now to the 25th. 1836, Samuel Colt patents the first multi-shot revolving cylinder revolver, enabling the firearm to be fired multiple times without reloading. 1862, Congress forms the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing to print newly issued U.S. paper currency, the United States notes. 1862 as well, kind of goes with it. First Legal Tender Act, 1862, is passed by the U.S. Congress authorizing the United States note, the greenback, into circulation. The first paper money that was legal tender in America. 1907, the U.S. proclaims protectorate over the Dominican Republic. I think that's our job. 1950, Your Show of Shows, with Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca, premieres on NBC. Writers include Mel Brooks, Neil Simon, and Woody Allen. Of course, Carl Reiner was a big part of that show as well. 1956, Nikita Khrushchev denounces Joseph Stalin at the 20th Congress of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. That was a big deal. 1964, Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay at the time, wins his first world heavyweight boxing title when Sonny Liston fails to come out for round 7 at the convention center. That's immortalized in the movie One Night in Miami, which we saw on Amazon recently. Excellent, excellent movie. 1969, the Beatles begin recording their final album, Abbey Road. Not the final to be released, that was Let It Be, but the final one they recorded. Moving on to the 26th, 1616, the Roman Inquisition delivers injunction to Galileo demanding he abandon his belief in heliocentrism, which states the Earth and planets revolve around the sun. Huh. Now, I know nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, but did he expect the Roman Inquisition? Don't know. 1916, Mutual signs Charlie Chaplin to a film contract. 1917, the first jazz records recorded, Dixie Jazz Band One Step and Lively Stable Blues by original Dixieland Jazz Band for the Victrola Talking Machine Company. It was released. Recorded, rather. 1919, Congress forms the Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona. 1924, a trial against Adolf Hitler for treason in the beer hall putsch in Munich begins. 1935, radar, radio detection and ranging, it's an acronym, first developed by Robert Watson Watt, is announced. 1962, the U.S. Supreme Court disallows race separation on public transportation. Thank you, Rosa Parks. 1975, first televised kidney transplant on the Today Show. Oh, there's some breakfast viewing. 1983, Michael Jackson's Thriller album goes number 1 and stays number 1 for 37 weeks. You did live through that. It was a big, big deal, second only, I would say, to the Beatles. 1993, the first World Trade Center bombing. Truck bomb explodes in parking garage of New York City's World Trade Center at 12:18 p.m., killing 6 and injuring over 1,000 in what was the deadliest act of terrorism perpetuated on U.S. soil at that time. 2001, the Taliban destroyed 2 giant Buddha statues in Bamiyan, Afghanistan. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let's move on to the 27th, 1801. Washington, D.C. is placed under congressional jurisdiction. Statehood. 1814, Ludwig van Beethoven's 8th Symphony in F premieres. That's 1814. 1883, Oscar Hammerstein patents the first cigar rolling machine, not the one who wrote the musicals, his father, who was also the agent for Luisa Tetrazzini, but that's a whole other story. 1907, psychiatrists Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud meet for the first time in Vienna. They talked about their mothers. 1933, the Reichstag, the German parliament building, is destroyed by fire, possibly set by the Nazis, who blame and execute Martin van der Lubbe, a Dutch communist, for the crime. 1935, the 7th Academy Awards. It Happened One Night. Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert win for their roles. Excellent movie. And that is where the whole thing about Bugs Bunny eating carrots and saying, "What's up, Doc?" came from. Didn't find this out until very recently. 1950, General Chiang Kai-shek is elected president of Nationalist China, Taiwan. 1968, CBS News anchor Walter Cronkite delivers a scathing editorial on America's chances of winning the Vietnam War. That was a huge deal at the time as well. 1974, People magazine begins sales, kicking off the dumbing down of America. 1996, the first ever appearance of Pokemon in role-playing video game Pocket Monsters Red and Green for the Game Boy in Japan. Happy birthday, Pokemon. Did you know that our grave is a gym in that Pokemon mobile game where you find them? Remember, everybody's walking around with their cell phones looking for Pokemon and Pokemon gyms. Yeah, it's our grave is one of them, apparently. I didn't know that. 1998, Apple discontinues development of the Newton computer. We had one. It wasn't very good. But it set the stage for the iPhone and various other PDAs, personal digital assistants. Apple's always been ahead of their time, sometimes too far ahead. Let's move on to the 28th, 1827. The first commercial railroad in the U.S. is opened. The Baltimore and Ohio, the B&O, actually chartered. 1849, the first boatload of gold rush prospectors arrives in San Francisco from the East Coast. There's gold! 1914, construction begins on the Tower of Jewels, the iconic building from the San Francisco Panama Pacific International Exposition. We are really hoping to have one of those gems, Nova gems, that hung from the tower someday. They come up on eBay every once in a while, but they're expensive. 1934, on Adolf Hitler's advice, German President Paul von Hindenburg signs the Reichstag fire decree. After the building is destroyed by fire in Berlin, this eliminates many civil liberties in Germany. The German Communist Party is essentially outlawed, though not formally banned, after the German government blames the communists for the burning down of the Reichstag building. 1939, the erroneous word "dord" is discovered in Webster's New International Dictionary, 2nd edition, prompting an investigation. 1943, George Gershwin's Porgy and Bess opens on Broadway with Anne Brown and Todd Duncan. It flopped, believe it or not. 1953, Francis Crick and James Watson discovered the chemical structure of the DNA molecule, the double helix polymer. That changed the world, that discovery. 1983, final TV episode of MASH airs on CBS, a record 125 million watch in the US. Of course, we mentioned radar earlier. Let's move on to the 29th, 1692. The first people are accused of witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts. Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, a West Indian slave. 1904, Theodore Roosevelt appoints a 7-man Panama Canal Commission to proceed with completing a canal on the isthmus. 1940, Hattie McDaniel becomes the first African-American woman to win an Oscar for Gone with the Wind. Big racist event occurred at that. That's definitely something you should learn more about. And also her wish to be buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. She wasn't allowed to do that. They weren't allowed to do that, rather. She wasn't allowed. She was dead by that point. She's buried in another cemetery, but the new owners of Hollywood Forever put up a cenotaph in her honor. So if you ever go there, which we recommend doing, amazing cemetery, go see it. 1960, the first Playboy Club featuring bunnies opens in Chicago. 1964, President Johnson reveals the U.S. has secretly developed the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, an advanced long-range, high-speed, high-altitude reconnaissance airplane, and we still don't know how fast it actually went. That's still classified. 1968, the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, we're on the cover, you know, we'll put up a picture, wins Grammy Award for Album of the Year, the first rock LP to do so. Moving on to the first, 1781, the Continental Congress officially adopts the Articles of Confederation, the first Constitution of the United States of America, after ratification by the 13th state, Maryland. 1859, the present seal of San Francisco is adopted. It's our second one. I don't know what the first one is. I'll try to dig it up and put it over here. We'll see. 1872, Yellowstone becomes the world's first national park. 1973, E. Remington and Sons of Ilion, New York, begin production of the first practical typewriter. Remember typewriters? 1932, the Lindbergh kidnapping. 20-month-old son of Charles and Ann Lindbergh kidnapped from home in East Amwell, New Jersey, found dead on the 12th of May. 1936, Boulder, now Hoover Dam, is fully completed. 1953, after an all-night movie and dinner session with his top advisors, Joseph Stalin suffers a stroke and collapses. He dies 4 days later. We've said this before. The movie The Death of Stalin is hilarious. 1954, 4 Puerto Ricans open fire in the U.S. House of Representatives, injuring 5 members. 1961, U.S. President Kennedy establishes the Peace Corps. What's there to live for? Who needs the Peace Corps? Zappa fans will get that. 1962, Crescent Corporation opens the first Kmart store in Garden City, Michigan. 1969, after 88 weeks, the Beatles' album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band drops off the charts. 1969, Jim Morrison allegedly exposes himself on stage at the Dinner Key Auditorium in Miami, Florida. 1974, Watergate grand jury indicts 7 presidential aides. 1977, the Bank of America adopts the Visa name for its credit cards. It used to be called the Bank America card, and of course MasterCard, used to be known as MasterCharge. 1978, this is true, Charlie Chaplin's coffin and remains are stolen from a Swiss cemetery in an extortion plot. They recovered it. 2004, Terry Nichols is convicted of state murder charges and being an accomplice to Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. 2020, Pete Buttigieg drops out of the U.S. Democratic presidential race. He's now Secretary of Transportation in the Biden administration. Also 2020, the first known COVID-19 case is identified in New York, a healthcare worker returning from Iran. Let's now move on to the second. 1882, Queen Victoria narrowly escapes assassination when Roderick McLean shoots at her while boarding a train in Windsor. 1933, King Kong, the film directed by Marian C. Cooper and Ernest B. Shudask, starring Fay Wray, premieres at Radio City Music Hall and RKO Roxy in New York City. 1964, the Beatles begin filming A Hard Day's Night, and George Harrison meets his first wife, Hattie Boyd. 1974, grand jury concludes U.S. President Richard Nixon is involved in the Watergate cover-up, the unindicted co-conspirator. Let's now move on to our births for today. Starting at the 24th, 1786, Wilhelm Grimm, the German storyteller, yes, Grimm's fairy tales. 1836, Winslow Homer, the American painter. 1921, Abe Vigoda, American actor. Barney Miller, The Godfather. Fish just passed away recently. In fact, I think he comes up again. We have a number of people who passed away right around their birthday today. 1932, Michael Legrand, French composer and jazz musician. Summer of 42, Windmills of Your Mind. 1950, rocker George Thorogood. 1955, Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple. Don't forget, this entire video is shot, edited, and uploaded on an iPhone. Thank you, Steve Jobs. Let's move on to the 25th, 1841. The sculptor and painter Renoir, that's somebody else I was about to do. That was 1841. 1873, Enrico Caruso, who was here for the earthquake in 1906. So there's a whole story we'll tell in the new edition. 1901, Zeppo Marx. Real name Herbert Manfred Marx. Now, those of you who are Marx Brothers buffs may know that Manfred was the name of the first Marx brother. He died in childhood, actually as an infant. So they worked his name into Zeppo's. So let's see, we had Manfred, who did not have a name. A Marx brother name, shall we say. He did have a name, it was Manfred. Then we had, let's see, next born is Leonard, Chico, Adolf, Harpo, Julius, Harpo was later known as Leonard, Julius, Groucho. Then we had Gummo, whose name is completely escaping me at the moment, his real name. We'll try to find it, we'll put it right here. And then Herbert Zeppo. Of course, Herbert left after the Paramount movies to become their agent, as was Gummo. 1913 birth for Jim Backus, Mr. Magoo, Rebel Without a Cause, Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island. 1917, Anthony Burgess, the novelist, writer of A Clockwork Orange. More wine? 1920, Sun Myung Moon, South Korean evangelist. 1935, Sally Jesse Raphael. Oh, I forgot my red glasses today. 1943, George Harrison. It's his birthday tomorrow. 1954, John Doe from the band X. 1971, Sean Astin, who was in The Goonies, Lord of the Rings, and the child of John Astin and Patty Duke. 1975, comedian Chelsea Handler. Let's now move on to the 26th, 1802, Victor Hugo, French author of The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Les Miserables. There was one time a hotel and restaurant in Laguna Beach named the Victor Hugo Inn. We don't know why. 1829, speaking of San Franciscans who had an impact, Levi Strauss. We'll do a whole episode on him at some point too. 1846, William Buffalo Bill Cody, the Wild West hunter and showman, Buffalo Bill's Wild West. 1852, John Harvey Kellogg. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. If you've never seen the movie The Road to Wellville, it's great, just great. 1908, one of the kings of cartooning, Tex Avery. I wish I could do a wild take. There we go. That's about as close as I can get. 1921, actor Betty Hutton. 1924, Noboru Takashi. Wait, I almost blew it. I almost gave away my joke. Takeshita. Noboru Takeshita, the Japanese prime minister from 1987 to 1989. Now, U.S. newscasters had no idea how to pronounce his last name. The proper pronunciation, and I can be corrected on this, is Takeshita. But everybody in the U.S. would just say, Takeshita. Takeshita. Yeah, no, Takeshita. 1928, Fats Domino, the great star of 1950s music, Blueberry Hill, for example. He was a survivor of Hurricane Katrina. 1928, Ariel Sharon, the Israeli general and politician, prime minister from 2001 to 2006. 1932, one of the greats, some recording artist originally, Johnny Cash, I Walk the Line, Ring of Fire, A Boy Named Sue. 1933, actor Godfrey Cambridge, who was great in Watermelon Man. 1945, Mitch Ryder wrote Devil with a Blue Dress, also performed it. We move on to the 27th now. 1891, David Sarnoff, American radio and television pioneer. Oh, just the founder of RCA and NBC. 1892, William Demarest, actor. My Three Sons, played Uncle Charlie. Of course, we're more of a fan of William Frawley as Bub. Big fan of Bub. 1897, Marian Anderson, American contralto, celebrated singer. Just saw a wonderful documentary on PBS about her and the concert she gave at the Lincoln Memorial. Quite a wonderful story. Well, quite a disturbing story, actually, because it's all about racism. But nonetheless, check it out. It's great. 1902, John Steinbeck, the author of Grapes of Wrath, which he won the Nobel Prize for, born in Salinas. 1910, Clarence Kelly Johnson, American aircraft engineer, Lockheed Skunk Works, designer of the U-2 and the SR-71, the Blackbird we just talked about earlier. 1917, John Connally Jr., American politician, 39th governor of Texas, federal treasurer. He was wounded in the Kennedy assassination by the magic bullet. 1930, Joanne Woodward, American actor, producer, activist, and philanthropist, Three Faces of Eve, Rachel. Speaking of great actors, 1932, Elizabeth Taylor, who did so much during the early days of the AIDS pandemic when no one else would. She stepped up. 1934, consumer activist and former presidential candidate Ralph Nader. 1958, Nancy Spungen, girlfriend of Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols, who allegedly murdered her. 1980, Chelsea Clinton, daughter of President Clinton and President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Moving on to the 28th, oh, bummer's at it again. Anyway, moving on to the 28th, 1820, John Tenniel, the English cartoonist illustrator, did illustrations for Punch, but is best known for his illustrations for Alice in Wonderland. 1893, Ben Hecht, American novelist, playwright, screenwriter, wrote the front page. 1901, Linus Pauling, American chemist and peace activist, won the Nobel Prize in 1954 and 1962. 1906, Bugsy Siegel, American gangster who created the casinos in Las Vegas. 1929, Frank Gehry, the Canadian-born American architect of the Bilbao, the Guggenheim Museum, Disney Hall in Los Angeles. 1931, Gavin MacLeod, American actor, played Murray on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and of course Captain Stubing on The Love Boat, but I remember him for a wonderful Peter Sellers, Blake Edwards movie called The Party. He really gets the slow burn down in that movie. And I once met him at a travel show because he would go out and shill for Princess Cruises. And I told him that I just loved him in The Party. And he was so touched that anyone would remember him for that role. It's a funny, funny movie. So get a chance to see it. 1942, Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. You know, the investigation into his death has been reopened. He drowned. 1948, the great Bernadette Peters, who was wonderful in The Jerk and numerous other roles. 1955, comedian Gilbert Gottfried. Does he actually have eyes? And of course, he was at one point the voice of the Aflac Duck. Aflac! And, if you ever get a chance, there's a very funny YouTube video when he was on the Howard Stern show. Just look up Deborah or Devora. It's hilarious. 1957, Cindy Wilson from the B-52s, wonderful singer, also the sister of Ricky Wilson, the guitarist for the B-52s who passed away of AIDS complications. 1957, John Turturro, actor, was wonderful in numerous films, but especially The Color of Money, Jungle Fever, Brain Donor, and Barton Fink, if I remember right. Wasn't he the lead in Barton Fink? I think so. Hope so. Moving on to the 29th, because it is a leap year, we have to include the 29th. Forgot to mention that earlier. 1792, Rossini, the Italian composer, wrote The Barber of Seville. 1904, Jimmy Dorsey, American orchestra leader. Moving on now to the first. 1810, Chopin. No, Chopin, the great composer. Love him along with Brahms and Bach. 1904, Glenn Miller, American bandleader and jazz composer. 1910, the actor David Niven, who was great in Casino Royale and Pink Panther and numerous other movies. 1917, the singer Dinah Shore, see the USA in a Chevrolet. She was famous for that. Oh, there goes Bummer again. 1922, Yitzhak Rabin, another Prime Minister of Israel, and the winner of the 1994 Nobel Peace Prize, which he also, I believe, shared with Bubba, President Clinton, and Yasser Arafat. 1924, Deke Slayton, one of the original Mercury 7 astronauts, also flew on Apollo 18. 1933, actor Joan Hackett, who was in Will Penny, One Stone Pony, has one of the best epitaphs I have ever seen. Go away, I'm asleep. Right up there with, I told you I was sick. 1940, illustrator Robert Grossman. You've seen his work around. He's probably the most famous for doing the cover of the Firesign Theater album, Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers. He was also with two of the members of the Firesign Theater, Peter Bergman and Phil Proctor, at the Golden Dragon, the night of the massacre there. Oh, we'll do a whole show about that. That's quite a story. Phil Proctor wrote it up in his autobiography, Where's My Fortune Cookie? And Robert Grossman did the illustration for the cover. One of the best album covers ever. Of course, I'm going to put it up here. We are a huge Firesign fan, indeed. 1944, the great singer from the band The Who, Roger Daltrey. We're not going to swing our microphone over our head. 1945, actor Dirk Benedict, who played, he was on the A-Team in Battlestar Galactica, played Murdoch, the crazy one. 1947, actor and songwriter Alan Thicke. 1948, the great reggae singer Burning Spear. 1956, Timothy Daley, who played Joe on Wings. He was also in Diner, Made in Heaven. Just came up the other day on a new YouTube series we saw about Dr. Z from Hanging with Dr. Z or something like that. We'll put the right name up. We forgot it. Didn't think we were going to mention it. Saw it last night again. From movie The Planet of the Apes, they've given him a talk show. It's hilarious. He's very smarmy in Hollywood. Well, check it out. We'll try to put the link to the channel up as well. 1969, Javier Bardem, a Spanish actor. 1994, the singer Justin Bieber. Moving on to the second, 1793, Sam Houston, the American-born first president of the Republic of Texas. Oh, we are going long today. 1959, the Yiddish author and playwright Shalom Aleichem. You may not have heard of him, but he wrote Tevye the Dairyman, which was the inspired Fiddler on the Roof. 1904, Theodor Geisel, Dr. Seuss. 1917, Desi Arnaz, Lucy, you got some splaining to do. 1931, Mikhail Gorbachev, General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1985 to 1981, I believe the last one. 1931, Thomas Wolfe, the journalist and author, The Right Stuff. 1935, Porky Pig, the Warner Brothers cartoon character created by Fritz Freleng and Frank Tashlin. First debuts in I Haven't Got a Hat. 1942, one of our favorites, Lou Reed. Got to see him at the Cuckoo's Nest in Costa Mesa once, I believe. I know it's on with the Roxy. Not sure about the Cuckoo's Nest. Maybe he never played there. I think he did. Anyway, it was a long time ago. Ooh! And there goes everything. Caught it in time. Oh dear. Can't have that happen. We're really going on today. Ooh. Okay, I think we got it. 1952, Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live. 1968, Daniel Craig, who played James Bond, and in my opinion, our opinion rather, the only one other than Sean Connery who really pulled the role off properly. Just our opinion. Sorry about Boner. Let's move on to our deaths today. Starting with the 24th, 1815, Robert Fulton, the inventor of the first commercial steamboat. 1990, Malcolm Forbes, the magazine publisher and boyfriend of Elizabeth Taylor at one point. 1991, George Gobel, the comedian. I think he discovered Carol Burnett. 1994, we mentioned her earlier, Dinah Shore. 1998, Hannah Youngman, Take My Life, Please. 2004, Alvino Ray, the orchestra leader of King Family, and also was famous for his talking guitar. 2008, Dennis Weaver, actor, also was on Duel, played Chester on Gunsmoke. 2012, Jan Berenstain, one of the co-creators of the Berenstain Bears. 2014, Harold Ramis, the director, comedian, was the head writer on SCTV in its early days. The 25th, 1723, Christopher Wren, the English astronomer and the architect of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. 1914, came up earlier, John Tenniel, the illustrator for Alice in Wonderland, lived to be 93. 1970, the artist Mark Rothko. 1975, Elijah Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. 1983, the great playwright Tennessee Williams. 1987, James Coco, who was a great character actor. 2013, C. Everett Koop, who was the 13th U.S. Surgeon General and another hero of the AIDS pandemic, we might add. Moving on to the 26th, 1965, Jimmy Lee Jackson, civil rights activist, dies from gunshot wounds at the age of 26. Moving on to the 27th, 1892, Louis Vuitton, the founder of Louis Vuitton. 1936, Ivan Pavlov, the Russian psychologist and pioneer in psychology. Excuse me. 1992, S.I. Hayakawa, the U.S. Senator from California, educator, linguist. He was a very cunning linguist, and was also the president of San Francisco State University when they had the riots there. Didn't respond to it very well. 2002, Spike Milligan, the actor and comedian, The Goon Show, hugely influential comedy troupe from the UK. 2003, Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. 2008, skipped one there. 2006, Otis Chandler, publisher of the Los Angeles Times. 2008, William F. Buckley, conservative author, commentator, publisher of the National Review, host of Firing Line. 2015, Leonard Nimoy, live long and prosper. 2015 as well, Malcolm Boyd, Episcopal priest, I believe he was a bishop, author and LGBT and civil rights activist. 2016, George Kennedy, he was in Cool Hand Luke and also the Naked Gun films. Moving on to the 28th, I have to pronounce this, Cuauhtemoc, I hope I pronounced that right, the last Aztec emperor, hats off to emperors, tortured and killed by Spanish conquistador Cortez. 1977, Eddie Rochester Anderson, comedian, actor, the Jack Benny program. I'm a-coming, Mr. Benny. 1979, Mr. Ed, the talking horse. 1993, singer, dancer, actor, Ruby Keeler, 42nd Street. 2009, Paul Harvey, American news commentator and radio broadcaster, and that's the rest of the story. 2011, actor Jane Russell. 2019, Andre Previn, conductor. Moving on to the 29th, 468, Pope Saint Hilarious, calendar reformer, dies, birth date unknown. He's also the patron saint of comedians, I guess, Saint Hilarious. 1868, Ludwig I, the King of Bavaria. Don't tell the Countess, they were lovers. Maybe even married, we don't know for sure. 1908, Pat Garrett, American Western lawman. 1928, Ina Coolbrith, first poet laureate of California. 2012, Davy Jones from the Monkees. 1984, did I skip ahead? Oh, yes, I did. 1984, this is the first we're talking about now. Jackie Coogan, who was in The Kid, that's where he was discovered, the Charlie Chaplin movie. Most of you probably know him best for being Uncle Fester in the original Addams Family TV show, and we thought nobody would ever be able to play Uncle Fester other than him, but Christopher Lloyd did a damn good job of the Addams Family movies. In 1988, Joe Besser from the Three Stooges. Okay, so there was Curly Joe, and then there was Joe. Joe Besser was Joe, but Curly Joe was somebody totally different. Moving on to the second, 1930, author D.H. Lawrence, later Chatterley's lover. 1939, Harold Carter, archaeologist who discovered King Tut's tomb. 1999, the great British singer Dusty Springfield, and hats off to the Pet Shop Boys for bringing her back and giving her a whole new career at the end of her life. 2004, Marge Schott, the former owner of the Cincinnati Reds, she got in a little trouble for her racism. 2005, Martin Denny, American musician, Exotica. He was a big part of that movement, the Exotica music movement. And 2020, James Lipton, the writer, actor, and host of Inside the Actors Studio, great teacher too. For our quotes today at the end, we're going to do something a little bit different because of some of the people that were born and passed away. We have 4 today. First one was, "Won't you be my neighbor?" Fred Rogers. Did earlier, "Live long and prosper," which Leonard Nimoy, of course, created for Spock. "But Wilbur," Mr. Ed. And now, for the rest of the story. Paul Harvey, "Good day." And that's all, folks. And that is all, folks, for today's edition. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and leave comments down below, especially comments of what you would like this vlog to become. Also, we appreciate all of our generous donors. Here's where you can get more information to help us out in helping our technology. We do need some more equipment to make this vlog look even better. Also, if you'd like to learn more about the tours the Countess and I will be redoing someday, we're coming back fairly soon, we believe. sftimemachine.com. So until we see you again, stay safe and stay healthy. But if you go outside, even if you've got the vaccine, wear your mask. It's for your protection, the protection of others. I know a lot of people are saying, why do we have to still wear the mask when we get the vaccine? Because there's still a lot of infected people out there, and you don't want to take any chances after all. So it's a minor inconvenience for a while longer till we can hopefully get things back to normal. And the sooner we all don the masks, the sooner we can all get back to normal. You know, think about that. If we'd all been wearing the masks a year ago, things would be very, very different today. We wouldn't have 500,000 dead. Do not take unproven cures that might kill you, right? I think we're beyond that now, but I think it bears repeating nonetheless. Most of all, however, be kind to one another. 52 minutes today. Wow, that's a record, we believe. Oh, one other thing, yes, I did want to throw this out there. April 18 is coming up. Not sure what the city's going to be doing this year for the earthquake commemoration. We doubt we'll be gathering at Lotta's Fountain. We hope to report back to you soon that they'll be doing something virtually, but if they don't, we will do it once again live the morning of April 18 from Studio A here. And we'll probably be doing that as a YouTube live event to get a wider audience than last time it was a Facebook Live event. So we're going to make some inquiries into that. Until we see you again, a gracious good day.